Have you ever wondered where breakthrough ideas come from? That sudden spark, that flash of inspiration that feels almost magical. What if it's not magic at all? What if creativity has a science, a hidden rhythm in your brain that turns imagination into innovation? Today, we're diving deep into the neuroscience of creativity, exploring how your brain generates ideas, what triggers those aha moments, and how you can train your mind to think like a genius. Because the truth is, creativity isn't reserved for the gifted few. It's a system, and once you understand how it works, you can unlock it anytime you want. Welcome to Self-Unlocked, where science and ancient wisdom unite to help you unlock your true potential. Before we dive in, I want to take a moment to thank you, every subscriber, every viewer who comments, likes, and shares these videos. You're not just watching, you're helping build a community of seekers, thinkers, and transformers exploring the hidden mechanics of the mind, body, and energy. Together, we're learning how thoughts shape reality, how frequencies influence emotion, and how to awaken the true self within. Stay curious, stay conscious, because your journey to self-mastery starts right here. We talk about creativity as if it's a gift, something bestowed upon a lucky few by the mysterious hand of the universe. But science tells a different story. Creativity isn't magic. It's a cognitive process, the brain's ability to generate ideas that are both novel and useful. That's the true scientific definition. Novel meaning new or original. Useful meaning it solves a problem, meets a need, or creates meaning. That's the secret. Creativity doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from rearranging what's already there. Every idea you've ever had, every thought, invention, or insight began as an association between two or more existing memories. When you have a creative idea, your brain is literally wiring new connections between neural circuits that may have never spoken to each other before. Think of your brain as a massive library filled with fragments of knowledge, experiences, and emotions. Creativity is the librarian who finds the unexpected link between two books that were never shelved together. That's how you get innovation. That's how imagination turns into invention. Leonardo da Vinci's art was influenced by his studies of anatomy. Tesla's breakthroughs in electricity came from visualizing energy as patterns of vibration. Marie Curie's discoveries in radioactivity stemmed from curiosity about invisible forces. Across history, the most creative minds weren't just artists or scientists. They were connectors of ideas, disciplines, and patterns. Creativity, then, isn't confined to a type of person, it's a way of thinking. So how does science categorize creativity? Psychologists often divide it into two main types. Divergent thinking, the ability to generate many possible solutions to a problem. It's open-ended, fluid, and free. For example, how many uses can you think of for a paperclip? This taps into imagination and flexibility. Convergent thinking, the ability to find the best or most accurate solution from many possibilities. This is analytical, logical, and focused. The dance between divergent and convergent thinking forms the backbone of creative cognition. You first explore possibilities, then refine and focus until you reach something both innovative and practical. And here's something fascinating. The creative process isn't limited to the arts. It's just as alive in science, engineering, leadership, and even personal growth. Whenever you face uncertainty, experiment with ideas, or challenge assumptions, you are engaging in creative cognition. In fact, studies using brain imaging show that creative thinking activates multiple networks across both hemispheres, not just the right brain. As the myth suggests, so when we ask, what is creativity, really? The answer is simple and profound. Creativity is the brain's natural tendency to evolve ideas. It's how we adapt, survive, and transcend limits. It's not something you're born with. It's something your mind is built to do. From painting to problem solving, from the first human spark of fire to the algorithms of the future. Creativity is what makes us human. And as we'll soon see, unlocking it isn't about waiting for inspiration. It's about understanding the science of how your brain creates the extraordinary from the ordinary. What really happens inside the brain when we create? When an idea suddenly clicks, or when imagination flows effortlessly? What's the science behind that spark? Modern neuroscience reveals that creativity isn't powered by one area of the brain. It's a network phenomenon, a delicate dance between multiple systems communicating in real time. Think of your brain like an orchestra. Each section, logic, emotion, memory, imagination, plays its own instrument. But true creativity happens when they perform in harmony. Researchers have identified 3 major brain networks that form the foundation of creative thought: the default mode network, the executive control network, the salience network. Let's explore what each one does and how they work together to produce ideas that change the world. The default mode network, or DMN, is the brain's imagination engine. It activates when your mind wanders, during relaxation, shower thoughts, long walks, or before sleep. In this mode, your brain isn't idle. It's making subconscious associations, connecting memories, feelings, and concepts in unpredictable ways. This is where the raw material of creativity is born, where disconnected fragments collide and form something new. Artists, scientists, and innovators often report that their best ideas strike when they stop trying to think. That's the DMN at work. Next comes the Executive Control Network, or ECN, your inner editor. It's responsible for focus, decision-making, and evaluating whether an idea actually makes sense. While the DMN generates wild possibilities, the ECN filters them, deciding which ideas are worth developing. Visual. Animation of the brain highlighting frontal lobe regions lighting up. It's this balance between freedom and discipline that allows creativity to become innovation. Too much control and imagination gets suppressed. Too little, and ideas remain chaotic and unfocused. The brain's most creative moments happen when these two systems, the dreamer and the critic, cooperate. But how does the brain know when to switch between imagination and focus? That's the job of the salience network. It acts like a mental switchboard, detecting what's important in the moment and toggling between the default mode and executive control networks. When a useful idea emerges from the depths of the subconscious, the salience network lights up, signaling the brain to bring it into awareness. It's like the conductor raising their baton, cueing the orchestra when it's time for the next movement. When all 3 systems, the default mode, executive control, and salience networks, synchronize, a creative insight is born. Brain scans reveal that during moments of inspiration, activity spikes across both hemispheres, linking regions that normally operate separately: language centers, emotional regions, visual imagination, and analytical processing. In that instant, your brain forms a neural bridge, connecting logic and intuition, order and chaos. That's the science behind your aha moment, the literal spark of insight. So the next time inspiration strikes out of nowhere, remember, it's not random. It's the result of a beautifully orchestrated process happening deep inside your mind. Your brain has been silently weaving connections, balancing creativity and control until the pattern finally emerges into consciousness. That's the miracle of the creative brain. Not a lightning bolt from the heavens, but the harmony of neural symphonies that play the music of innovation. We've all been there, stuck on a problem, trying everything we know, and then out of nowhere it hits us. An idea so clear, so simple, we wonder how we didn't see it before. That's the aha moment, the sudden burst of insight that feels almost supernatural. But neuroscience tells us it's not magic. It's the brain reorganizing itself, connecting patterns in ways we didn't consciously see. Researchers have found that just before an aha moment, the brain goes quiet, especially in the visual cortex, the area that processes what we see. It's as if the brain momentarily tunes out the outside world to focus entirely on internal connections. Then, a split second later, about 300 milliseconds before the insight, there's a sudden burst of high-frequency activity called gamma waves, mainly in the right temporal lobe. This region is linked to recognizing patterns, interpreting metaphors, and making connections between seemingly unrelated ideas. That's the brain's spark of realization. The moment when scattered pieces of information suddenly click into a meaningful whole. To put it simply, before your big idea appears, your subconscious mind is working behind the scenes, exploring different routes, testing combinations, and forming new links. When it finally finds a connection strong enough to surface, your conscious mind experiences it as revelation. It's not that the idea came from nowhere. It came from everywhere. Your experiences, memories, emotions, and observations, all silently converging. Here's the paradox. You can't force an insight. In fact, the harder you try, the less likely it is to happen. Why? Because creative breakthroughs thrive on what scientists call diffuse mode thinking. When you stop focusing intensely, like when you're taking a shower, going for a walk, or daydreaming, your brain enters a relaxed, open state. This allows distant neural networks to interact freely. That's why your best ideas come when you're not trying, because your brain is finally free to connect the dots without interference. Neuroscientists have even pinpointed the anterior superior temporal gyrus as a key player in these moments. It's the part of your brain that integrates distant associations, the bridge builder between unrelated concepts. When it fires up during a gamma burst, you feel that exhilarating rush of insight, the eureka surge that lights up your mind. And here's what's even more fascinating. Your brain releases a tiny dose of dopamine right after an aha moment. That's the same chemical linked to pleasure, reward, and motivation, which is why creativity feels so good. It literally rewards you for thinking differently. So, the next time an idea strikes you out of the blue, remember, it's not chance. It's the result of your brain's invisible orchestra, harmonizing thought, memory, and emotion into a single moment of clarity. Creativity isn't a lightning bolt. It's a signal from the deep subconscious mind saying, "I found it." When it comes to creativity, most people think the magic happens while they're actively thinking, brainstorming, sketching, or writing. But neuroscience tells a different story. The true engine of creativity isn't your conscious mind. It's your subconscious. That silent, unseen part of your brain that keeps working when you're not even aware of it. Your conscious mind is analytical. It's great for logic, planning, and execution. But it's limited. Can only process about 40 bits of information per second. Your subconscious mind, it handles an estimated 11 million bits per second, scanning patterns, connecting memories, and associating emotions faster than you can imagine. It's like a supercomputer humming beneath your awareness, gathering data from every experience you've ever had. When you're creative, what's really happening is a conversation between your conscious and subconscious minds. You feed it information, you study, observe, explore. Then, when you step away and rest, your subconscious continues the work, reorganizing all that data into something new. This is what psychologists call incubation, the phase where ideas brew below the surface, often when you're not even thinking about the problem. And then, suddenly, your subconscious delivers the answer in a flash, that aha we explored earlier. You didn't force it. You allowed it. That's why sleep, rest, and downtime are essential for creativity. During deep sleep, especially the REM stage, your brain replays experiences and forms new neural links. It's literally rewiring itself, pruning unnecessary connections and strengthening the ones that matter. Dreams, in particular, are the subconscious mind's playground. They mix symbols, emotions, and memories in abstract ways. Exactly the kind of environment where creativity thrives. Einstein once said his greatest ideas came not from thinking harder, but from letting go and allowing thoughts to float freely. He understood that true insight comes from trusting the subconscious process. The subconscious doesn't speak in words or logic. It speaks in images, emotions, and intuition. That's why sudden inspiration often feels like it came from somewhere else. In reality, it came from within, from the vast neural network that remembers everything you've ever seen, felt, or imagined. When you quiet your conscious mind through meditation, music, or mindful wandering, you give that deeper system space to emerge. You let your brain's quiet genius step forward. This is where many creative masters, artists, scientists, writers, find their flow. In that flow state, the conscious mind and subconscious mind merge, allowing effortless creativity. Time disappears. Self-doubt fades. Ideas pour out as if they've been waiting all along. That's the subconscious mind in perfect alignment, translating the unseen into something real. So if you want to unlock breakthrough ideas, stop trying to control the process. Feed your subconscious with knowledge, curiosity, and experience. Then step back and let it work. Because the most creative minds aren't just thinkers. They're listeners, tuned to the whispers of their own subconscious intelligence. Every idea, every spark of creativity begins with chemistry. Your thoughts aren't abstract. They're electrical and chemical events unfolding across billions of neurons. And when those chemicals shift, so does your ability to imagine, create, and innovate. In other words, creativity has a chemical signature. Let's start with dopamine, the neurotransmitter of motivation, pleasure, and curiosity. Dopamine fuels your brain's reward system. When levels rise, your mind becomes more exploratory, open to risk, and eager to make new connections. This is why some of your best ideas come when you're excited, inspired, or even just in a playful mood. Dopamine literally widens your mental searchlight, allowing your but creativity isn't just about high dopamine. It's also about balance. Too much dopamine, and your ideas become chaotic, scattered, unfiltered. Too little, and the mind feels rigid and dull. The most creative states arise when dopamine flows just enough to energize imagination, without overwhelming focus. This fine-tuned chemical dance explains why creativity often feels like walking a tightrope between order and chaos. To link distant concepts together, the foundation of creative thought. Next, there's serotonin, the neurotransmitter that regulates mood and emotional balance. Serotonin keeps you calm and centered, allowing the mind to stay open without tipping into anxiety. When serotonin levels are healthy, your brain feels safe, and that sense of safety is crucial for taking creative risks. If your mind feels threatened or fearful, creativity shuts down. The brain's priority shifts from exploration to survival. So a balanced, positive emotional state isn't just pleasant. It's biochemically necessary for creative flow. Another major player, norepinephrine, your alertness chemical. It heightens focus and attention. During the early stages of creativity, norepinephrine helps you gather information and notice fine details. But when insight strikes, its levels dip, allowing your brain to relax and enter that dreamy, associative mode we call inspiration. Again, it's all about rhythm, stimulation, and release, focus, and freedom. When these neurotransmitters synchronize, dopamine for curiosity, serotonin for calm, norepinephrine for focus, you enter what scientists call a creative flow state. In this state, your prefrontal cortex, the part that criticizes and self-edits, temporarily quiets down. This phenomenon, known as transient hypofrontality, allows your subconscious mind to step forward, generating original ideas without interference. That's why during flow, you lose track of time. You stop judging yourself. You become fully immersed in creation, a perfect neurochemical harmony between control and surrender. The more you understand your brain chemistry, the more intentionally you can enter this state. Simple practices like exercise, laughter, meditation, and listening to music naturally boost dopamine and serotonin, priming the brain for creativity. Even novelty itself, exploring new environments or learning new skills, triggers a rush of these chemicals, expanding your mental flexibility. Your brain, in essence, rewards curiosity. The more curious you are, the more biochemically creative you become. Creativity isn't just a mental act. It's a full-body experience, powered by chemistry, emotion, and biology working as one. Every great idea, every piece of art, every moment of inspiration begins with a surge of molecules, a spark of energy deep within your neural universe. The next time inspiration hits, remember, you're feeling the rhythm of your own biochemistry in perfect harmony. What if there was a mental state where creativity felt effortless, where time disappeared, doubt dissolved, and your ideas flowed like water, precise, inspired, unstoppable? That state exists. Psychologists call it flow. Artists call it being in the zone. And neuroscientists call it peak brain performance, the ultimate alignment of focus, chemistry, and consciousness. Flow is what happens when your brain stops thinking about creativity and starts being creativity. During flow, your prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for self-criticism, time awareness, and doubt, begins to quiet down, a phenomenon known as transient hypofrontality. When this happens, the internal voice that says, "This isn't good enough," fades away. You're no longer the thinker observing the process, you are the process. Fully absorbed, fully alive in this state, brain chemistry shifts dramatically. Dopamine floods your system, amplifying motivation and pattern recognition. Norepinephrine heightens focus and energy. Endorphins reduce pain and boost euphoria. And anandamide, the bliss molecule, enhances lateral thinking, allowing the brain to connect ideas in completely new ways. Together, these chemicals create a cocktail of effortless clarity and joy. You're not forcing ideas, you're catching them as they flow through you. Neuroscientists studying high-performing athletes, musicians, and innovators discovered that during flow, the brain enters a state of perfect synchronization. Regions that normally compete for attention start working together. Logic, emotion, and intuition begin to cooperate. This harmony increases neural efficiency. Your brain literally uses fewer resources to accomplish more. That's why in flow, tasks that seem impossible suddenly feel natural. It's not magic, it's neurobiology at its best. Psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who coined the term flow, described it as the optimal state of consciousness, where the challenge you face perfectly matches your skill level. Too easy and you get bored. Too hard and you get anxious. But right in that sweet spot where your mind is stretched just enough, flow emerges naturally. It's the intersection of mastery and discovery. Flow is also deeply emotional. It's the feeling of oneness with what you're doing, as if the boundary between you and your work disappears. Writers describe it as the story writing itself. Musicians say the music plays through them. In truth, this is the subconscious and conscious minds operating in perfect unity. Flow is the language of alignment, when your biology, mind, and purpose all speak the same rhythm. The beautiful part? Flow isn't reserved for the elite or the gifted. Anyone can train their brain to access it. It starts with a few conditions: clear goals, deep focus, immediate feedback, and a challenge that excites you just enough to push your limits. When those align, flow unlocks, and with it, the purest form of human potential. Flow isn't about doing more. It's about becoming one with what you're doing. When you reach that point, you're no longer creating from effort. You're creating from essence. That's the science and the soul of peak creativity. Where do original ideas come from? Are they born from genius, or simply from seeing the familiar in a completely new way? The truth is, original thought isn't about creating something from nothing. It's about transforming what already exists, reframing old patterns through a new lens of perception. And understanding how that happens begins deep within the psychology of the mind. At its core, creativity thrives on divergent thinking, the ability to generate many different solutions to a single problem. Instead of following one straight path, the mind branches out in all directions, exploring alternatives others might overlook. Psychologists call this cognitive flexibility, the mental agility to switch perspectives, reframe problems, and tolerate ambiguity. The more flexible you're thinking, the greater your potential for original ideas. That's why rigid thinkers struggle with innovation. Their brains stay trapped inside predictable loops. But original thought requires more than flexibility. It also demands risk-taking, the courage to challenge convention. Studies show that highly creative people often share a trait called low latent inhibition, meaning they filter less sensory information. They notice what others ignore. Where most people see noise, they see patterns. This openness to experience allows creative minds to combine unrelated elements in ways that seem new, even revolutionary. But it also requires emotional resilience because every original thinker risks being misunderstood. Throughout history, many innovators were labeled eccentric or even insane. But psychologically, what set them apart wasn't madness, it was mental integration. They could balance two opposing forces at once: imagination and logic, chaos and order, intuition and reason. This is known as cognitive duality, the paradoxical ability to think both freely and critically. Creative breakthroughs emerge right at that intersection, where play meets precision. Here's the secret. Every human brain begins life wired for creativity. Children live in a state of natural imagination, unafraid to experiment, unburdened by judgment. But as we grow, society trains us to prioritize correctness over curiosity. We learn to color inside the lines. Psychologically, this suppresses divergent thought. The creative brain thrives on permission, the freedom to fail, explore, and adapt. That's why the most original thinkers often maintain a childlike wonder well into adulthood. Another key to originality lies in metacognition, thinking about how you think. When you become aware of your own mental processes, you can deliberately shift perspectives. You start to notice your assumptions, biases, and habits of thought, and then break them. This self-awareness rewires the brain for novelty. It's the psychological foundation of true creative independence, freeing the mind from imitation and repetition. So what is an original idea, really? It's not a random stroke of brilliance. It's a reflection of how deeply and authentically you see the world. The more you expose your mind to new experiences, cultures, arts, philosophies, and disciplines, the richer your inner library becomes. Your subconscious then uses that library to form unique connections no one else can see. Original thought is born when the mind dares to combine what others keep separate. So if you wish to think originally, don't chase new ideas, chase new perspectives. Challenge your own thinking, step into the unfamiliar, and above all, stay curious. Because originality isn't about being different for the sake of it. It's about being true to the way only you can see the world. If creativity is a system, a symphony of networks, chemistry, and subconscious insight, then the question becomes, can you train it? The answer, absolutely. Your brain is constantly rewiring itself through a process called neuroplasticity. Every new idea, every new experience, and every challenge literally reshapes your neural pathways. Creativity isn't a talent. It's a skill, one that strengthens with practice. The first pillar of creative training is divergent thinking, the ability to explore multiple possibilities instead of searching for the right answer. Try this simple exercise. Pick an everyday object, a paperclip, a spoon, a rubber band. Now brainstorm as many uses as you can. 10, 20, 50. This pushes your brain to form new associations, stretching its flexibility like a mental muscle. The more unusual the ideas, the better. Your subconscious can only work with the material you give it. So if you want richer ideas, you need richer input. Expose your mind to cross-disciplinary learning, art, physics, literature, psychology, nature, technology. The greatest innovators, from Steve Jobs to Leonardo da Vinci, blended ideas from multiple worlds. Your brain becomes more original when it draws from unexpected combinations. You cannot brute force creativity. When you hit a wall, your subconscious needs space to breathe. This is the power of incubation. Take a walk, shower, meditate, switch tasks. In these quiet moments, your default mode network takes over, weaving together ideas that your conscious mind struggled with. Many breakthroughs happen after you stop trying. Creativity requires moments of chaos, but it also needs moments of deep focus. Set time blocks where you eliminate distractions and give your mind permission to dive fully into the work. This strengthens your executive control network, the part of the brain that refines and shapes raw ideas into usable solutions. Think of it as training your inner editor. It might sound counterintuitive, but limits boost creativity. When resources are scarce, time, tools, money, your brain invents new solutions. Psychologists call this the creativity of constraint. Constraints force unusual pathways, pushing the mind beyond habitual thinking. Innovation thrives where boundaries press against imagination. Movement enhances creativity. Studies show that walking increases idea generation by up to 60%. Why? Because physical motion stimulates blood flow, releases endorphins, and relaxes the prefrontal cortex, creating the perfect environment for insight. Even simple activities like stretching, breathing exercises, or light exercise can shift your brain into a more creative state. Creative people don't wait for inspiration, they prepare for it. Rituals signal the brain. It's time to create. Can be a cup of coffee, a certain playlist, a warm-up sketch, a breathing exercise. Once repeated, these cues trigger predictable mental states. Priming your brain for flow. Training the creative mind isn't about forcing genius. It's about creating the conditions where genius can rise naturally. Feed your mind, challenge your patterns, make space for insight, and treat creativity not as a miracle, but as a practice. When you do, the extraordinary becomes accessible, again and again. Creativity isn't just an individual pursuit. It's deeply social. Some of the most groundbreaking ideas in history didn't emerge in isolation. They were born from interaction, collaboration, and debate. Humans are wired to think together. Our brains constantly mirror and respond to others, forming what psychologists call socially distributed cognition. We borrow ideas, remix them, and build something entirely new. When multiple minds converge, they bring diverse experiences, knowledge, and perspectives. This diversity acts like fertilizer for creativity. Studies show that teams with varied backgrounds produce more original ideas than homogeneous groups. Why? Because differing viewpoints create tension, and tension forces the brain to reconcile contradictions, generating novel solutions. Even casual conversations, a question, a challenge, or a shared insight can trigger a mental spark that might never occur alone. Feedback is essential for refining and expanding creative thought. Your brain thrives on external perspectives, which can highlight blind spots, contradictions, or new directions. Constructive critique stimulates the executive control network, helping you evaluate and improve ideas. It's not just about correcting mistakes. It's about sharpening vision, opening pathways, and turning good ideas into great ideas. Mentorship isn't just skill transfer. It's neural modeling. Watching someone else create activates mirror neurons in your brain, helping you internalize patterns of thinking, problem-solving, and innovation. Similarly, exposure to inspiring peers or role models can ignite dopamine-fueled curiosity and motivation. When you see someone else achieve, your brain starts imagining how you could reach similar heights, creating fertile ground for your own originality. Your environment matters. Spaces that encourage communication, flexibility, and curiosity enhance idea generation. Psychologists have found that creativity flourishes in psychologically safe environments, where people can share unconventional ideas without fear of judgment. A team that laughs together, questions assumptions, and celebrates risk-taking produces far more innovative solutions than one mired in hierarchy or fear. Even casual, low-pressure social interactions, chatting with strangers, attending talks, or joining discussion groups, can spark insights that solitary work often misses. Ideas themselves are social entities. They evolve as they move through networks of people. When you share an idea, it adapts, grows, and often becomes something greater than its original form. This is why some of the most revolutionary breakthroughs, from the printing press to open-source software, depended on collective intelligence rather than isolated genius. Your creativity isn't limited to your brain alone. It's amplified by your connections, so the social side of creativity is clear. Engage, share, listen, collaborate. Original ideas don't just reside in solitude. They thrive at the intersection of minds. By building networks, exchanging perspectives, and welcoming feedback, you allow your brain to extend beyond itself, transforming individual insight into collective brilliance. When it comes to creativity, the mind is full of misconceptions. These myths can hold you back, making you believe that brilliance is innate or that creativity is reserved for a chosen few. Let's debunk the most common ones. Creativity isn't limited to painting or music. It shows up in science, business, engineering, education, anywhere problem-solving and innovation exist. It's a mindset, not a profession. Neuroscience proves creativity is a skill, not a fixed trait. Through practice, habit, and deliberate training, anyone can strengthen the neural pathways that generate new ideas. Your brain is malleable, it grows with every creative effort. Waiting for a magical spark is a trap. Creativity emerges through process, discipline, and environment. Inspiration often follows action, not the other way around. The truth is, creativity is accessible, trainable, and everywhere. It's not about luck or talent. It's about curiosity, persistence, and the willingness to explore the unknown. As technology evolves, so does creativity. The future isn't about replacing human imagination. It's about amplifying it. Artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and advanced neural interfaces are tools, not limits. They expand the canvas on which your mind can play, letting ideas flourish faster and in ways previously impossible. In the coming years, creativity will become increasingly collaborative, not just between humans, but between humans and machines. AI can generate patterns, suggest variations, and model complex systems, while your intuition, emotion, and vision guide the final outcome. The result? Innovation that blends logic, emotion, and imagination seamlessly. Global connectivity also reshapes creativity. Ideas travel faster, cross-pollinate across cultures, and evolve collectively. This interconnected world turns creativity into a shared resource, where breakthroughs can emerge from unexpected places. Yet one thing remains timeless: the human spark. No technology can replicate curiosity, intuition, and the courage to explore the unknown. The future of creativity belongs to those who embrace tools, challenge assumptions, and dare to imagine beyond boundaries. Creativity will no longer be a solitary act. It will be a dynamic interplay between mind, technology, and society. Creativity is not a gift reserved for a chosen few. It's a power that lives in every mind. It thrives in curiosity, flourishes in practice, and awakens when you trust your subconscious to work behind the scenes. Every breakthrough begins with simple steps: exposing yourself to new ideas, embracing uncertainty, and giving your mind the freedom to explore. Your brain is a living laboratory, capable of rewiring, connecting, and imagining beyond limits. The future of creativity is not just about technology or collaboration. It's about you. When you combine knowledge, discipline, and courage, you unlock a force that can shape ideas, solve problems, and transform the world. Your creative potential isn't waiting somewhere else. It's here inside you, ready to ignite.